Welcome to our deep dive
Oh, yeah.
into The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
I love it.
Are you looking to grasp the core principles of this book and see if they really hold water?
Yeah.
It's a classic in the self-help world, but some of its ideas might sound a little, shall we say, unconventional. Let's see what we can uncover together.
What I find fascinating about this book is how it blends practical advice with a metaphysical perspective. That's definitely a unique approach, and I'm sure it's surprised a few readers over the years.
The first thing that jumped out at me from the excerpts you shared was this bold claim that everyone has a right to be rich.
Yes.
Not just a good life, but actual wealth.
Right.
Wattles seems to connect this idea to personal growth, mental, spiritual, and physical.
Yes. Wattles argues that true wealth enables a person's full development.
Right.
He paints a picture of having enough resources to travel, pursue higher education, surround yourself with beautiful art, even the ability to express love through generous giving.
I can see how those things would require a certain level of financial freedom.
Sure.
But it makes me wonder, is there a danger in tying self-development so closely to material wealth?
Yeah.
Could this lead to people neglecting other important aspects of personal growth, like strong relationships or contributing to their community, if they aren't also financially wealthy?
That's a great question, and one that the book doesn't seem to address directly.
Yeah.
It's almost as if Wattles is working with a very specific definition of success that might not resonate with everyone.
Then there's the title itself, The Science of Getting Rich. Wattles claims there are specific laws that guarantee wealth, almost like a formula.
Right.
Do you really think there's a science to wealth building?
Well, there are certainly patterns and principles we can observe in how wealth is created. Things like economic forces, market trends, and even individual behaviors all play a part.
Right.
But to say it's as predictable as a scientific formula, I'm not so sure.
So maybe there's an art to it as well. Wattles uses examples of people who became rich despite not fitting the mold. They weren't in the right environment.
Right.
Didn't have obvious talent.
Yeah.
Didn't just scrimp and save their way to riches. What's he pointing to that goes beyond those conventional explanations?
That's where things take a turn into the metaphysical.
Okay.
He introduces this concept of formless substance.
Okay.
Now stay with me here.
Okay.
It's this formless, intelligent stuff that he believes the universe is made of.
Hold on. You're telling me that our thoughts can literally create wealth?
Yes.
I'm trying to keep an open mind, but that sounds a bit like magical thinking to me.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Wattles believes that thoughts, when impressed upon this formless substance, can manifest in the physical world. So if you can clearly envision and truly believe in the wealth you want, his theory is that you can bring it into being.
That's a pretty big leap from conventional economics. How do we reconcile this with the laws of physics and the way we understand the world to work?
It definitely requires some flexibility in thinking.
Okay.
But before we dismiss it entirely, let's delve a little deeper into what Wattles is really suggesting. He's not just talking about wishful thinking.
Right.
He emphasizes the importance of aligning your thoughts, beliefs, and actions with the goal of getting rich.
So it's a combination of mindset and the action.
Exactly.
He's not saying to sit on your couch and imagine money falling from the sky.
He is not, no.
Okay.
He calls for thinking truth regardless of appearances.
Okay.
Meaning, even if you're experiencing lack right now, you need to cultivate a belief in abundance. It's about shifting your internal state to attract wealth.
So I have to choose to believe in abundance, even if my bank account tells a different story.
Yes, that is the idea.
Wattles also talks about gratitude.
Right.
Is that part of this mental shift?
Absolutely. He suggests that living in a state of thankfulness aligns you with the creative power of the universe.
Okay.
Now, whether that's a direct metaphysical connection or simply a positive psychological shift, it's hard to deny the impact of gratitude.
It's interesting to think about the potential link between gratitude, our thoughts, and our behavior.
Yeah.
When we're grateful, we do tend to be more positive and proactive, and maybe that does lead to making better decisions and creating opportunities.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
And this ties into his emphasis on belief and action working together.
Right.
It's not passive daydreaming. It's focused intention combined with concrete steps towards your goals.
Yeah.
He seems to be saying you have to act as if you're already wealthy.
Okay.
Mentally inhabiting that reality.
Can you give me an example of what acting as if would actually look like in everyday life?
Wattles calls this acting in the certain ways,
Okay.
which means approaching every task efficiently and with the intention of moving closer to your wealth goals. It also involves giving more in use value than you receive in cash value in every transaction, ensuring everyone involved benefits.
So it's not just about accumulating money.
No.
It's about creating value for others in the process.
Exactly.
That's where his stance on competition gets interesting.
Right.
Wattles sees competition as a less effective path to wealth creation, almost like an obstacle.
Yeah.
He advocates for a creative mindset that doesn't view wealth as a limited pie. Wait, isn't healthy competition also a driving force for innovation and progress?
Yes.
How can you have a thriving economy without any competition?
You've hit on a very important point.
Yeah.
This is one area where the book's perspective feels a bit incomplete.
Oh, yeah?
While collaboration is essential,
Right.
healthy competition plays a role too.
Okay.
Wattles even downplays the ambition and competitive drive of historical figures like Rockefeller and Carnegie,
Oh, well.
calling them unconscious agents of a larger evolutionary process.
So is he advocating for a completely non-competitive approach to business?
It seems so.
Is that even realistic in the real world?
That's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
Finding a balance between collaboration and healthy competition is probably key.
Yeah.
But Wattles' perspective does challenge us to think beyond the win-lose mentality that often dominates business. It's a provocative thought, for sure.
It's a lot to consider,
Sure is.
especially this idea that competition might not be necessary.
Right.
But I do think there's something to be said for cooperation and creating value for everyone involved.
It challenges us to rethink the traditional dog-eat-dog mentality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, Wattles doesn't just leave us with abstract concepts.
Right.
He actually offers some very practical steps to take.
Like what?
He suggests forming a clear mental image of what you desire, acting in the present with efficiency and intention, and giving more in use value than you receive in cash value in all your dealings.
Okay.
However, he also offers some cautions.
Oh, what does he warn against?
Wattles advises against dwelling on negativity, whether that's thoughts about poverty,
Right.
anxieties about the future, or anything that contradicts your vision of wealth.
Okay.
He also suggests avoiding sources of information like certain books or even conversations that could introduce conflicting ideas.
He almost seems to suggest creating a mental bubble where your belief in abundance is protected from doubt and negativity.
Yeah,
That sounds a bit extreme.
it does.
But I can see how constantly being bombarded with messages of scarcity could make it harder to maintain a positive mindset.
It all comes back to being mindful of our mental and emotional environment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We need to be conscious about what we're feeding our minds.
And making deliberate choices about the information we consume.
Right.
It's almost like choosing to tune into a different radio station,
Yeah.
one that's broadcasting messages of hope and possibility instead of fear and limitation.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
Now, Wattles doesn't stop there. He also emphasizes the importance of staying focused on your own path and not getting sidetracked by other systems or theories.
So it's not just about blocking out negativity.
Right.
It's also about avoiding distractions.
Right. Okay.
He wants you to trust in the principles he's laid out and to resist the temptation to jump from one method to another.
Okay.
It's about commitment and consistency.
This idea of a certain way of acting that you mentioned earlier,
Okay.
can we unpack that a bit more?
Sure.
What does that look like in practice?
Think of it as approaching everything you do with the intention of getting rich.
Okay.
Each task, each interaction, each decision is made with that goal in mind. It's about being efficient, purposeful, and always striving to create value.
So it's not just about working hard, it's about working smart and making sure your actions are aligned with your overall vision.
That's right.
Wattles also talks about giving more in use value than you receive in cash.
Yeah.
What does he mean by use value? He's talking about the inherent worth or benefit that your goods or services provide.
Okay.
It's about making sure that the people you're dealing with are getting more out of the transaction than just what they paid for. It's about going above and beyond to deliver exceptional value.
It reminds me of the saying, go the extra mile. It seems like he's encouraging a mindset of abundance and generosity.
Yes.
Rather than just focusing on maximizing profit.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about creating a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Right.
And it reinforces the idea that wealth creation isn't a zero-sum game.
There's enough to go around for everyone.
That's the idea.
Now, I have to admit, I'm still grappling with this formless substance idea.
I understand.
It's a lot to wrap my head around. It sounds almost spiritual.
Right.
But Wattles presents it as a scientific principle.
He does straddle that line between science and metaphysics, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's certainly one of the more controversial aspects of his philosophy. But even if we set aside the metaphysical interpretation for a moment, I think there's something to be said for the power of belief and intention.
So you're saying even if we don't buy into the idea of a literal formless substance,
right,
there's still value in cultivating a belief in abundance and aligning our actions with that belief.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whether you call it the power of positive thinking, the law of attraction, or simply having a can-do attitude.
Yeah.
There's no denying that our beliefs influence our actions, and our actions shape our reality.
It's like Wattles is saying we have more control over our lives than we often realize.
Yes.
We may not be able to control external circumstances,
right,
but we can control how we respond to them and what we choose to focus on.
He's encouraging us to take responsibility for our own outcomes.
Right.
And to recognize our own power to create change.
It's an empowering message.
It is.
But it also places a lot of responsibility on our shoulders.
Sure does.
What about people who are struggling financially or who are facing systemic barriers?
Yeah.
Is Wattles suggesting it's all a matter of mindset?
That's an important question, and one that I'm sure has been debated by many readers of this book.
Right.
Wattles doesn't delve into those complexities in great detail, and it's important to acknowledge that there are real-world factors that can influence a person's ability to create wealth.
So his philosophy is not a magic bullet solution for everyone's problems.
It's not a quick fix or a guarantee, but it does offer a framework for thinking about wealth creation in a more deliberate and intentional way.
And perhaps for challenging some of our limiting beliefs about money and our own potential.
Exactly. He is essentially saying, don't underestimate the power of your own mind to shape your reality.
I'm curious, from all that we've discussed so far, what stands out to you the most? What's resonating with you personally?
What I find most compelling is the emphasis on personal responsibility. Wattles doesn't offer any shortcuts or easy answers.
Right.
He places the power squarely in the individual's hands, the power to choose their thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
That resonates with me too.
Yeah.
It's empowering in a way.
It is.
But also a bit daunting.
Right.
Puts a lot of weight on our shoulders.
For sure.
What if we're not seeing the results we want?
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Or that we're not believing hard enough.
I think that's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
We're all on our own journeys, and there will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
The key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep refining our approach.
It's like he's saying the journey itself is part of the process.
Yeah.
Not just the end results.
Right.
And it ties into his idea of continuous increase. Always striving for more life, more growth, more expression.
Precisely. It's a dynamic process, not a static destination.
Right.
And that's where his advice to focus on giving more in-use value than you take in cash value becomes really interesting.
Because it's not just about accumulating money,
Yeah.
but creating value for others in every interaction.
Right.
Okay.
It shifts the focus from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
Right.
If you're constantly striving to create value for others,
Yeah.
you're contributing to the overall increase of wealth and well-being in the world.
That's a powerful concept.
It is.
It reminds me of the idea of a rising tide lifting all boats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the interconnectedness of our actions.
Now, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this idea of thinking truth, regardless of appearances.
Sure.
How does that work in practical terms?
Wattles is essentially saying that you have to hold on to your vision of abundance, even when your current circumstances might seem to contradict it.
Yeah.
It's about trusting in the unseen,
Yeah.
in the potential that hasn't yet manifested.
So even if my bank account is looking a little thin,
Yeah.
I need to act as if I'm already wealthy.
Yes.
Dress for the job you want, so to speak.
More like think for the wealth you want.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a mental and emotional state that is congruent with your desired outcome.
But how do we avoid falling into the trap of denial or delusion?
That's where discernment comes in.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging your current reality
Right.
while also holding on to the belief that it can change.
Mm.
It's not about ignoring problems or pretending they don't exist.
So it's about facing challenges with a positive attitude and a belief that solutions are possible.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's about maintaining a sense of hope and possibility, even in the face of adversity.
It really is a balancing act, isn't it?
It is.
Holding on to that hope
Right.
while also being realistic about the challenges we face.
Yeah.
This whole conversation has me thinking about my own mindset.
Uh-huh.
Do you think it's possible to actually rewire our brains to think more abundantly?
Well, neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt,
Right.
is a fascinating area of research.
Yeah.
There's growing evidence that our thoughts and beliefs can actually alter the physical structure of our brains. Wow. So in a sense, yes,
Okay.
we can rewire ourselves for greater abundance by consciously choosing to focus on positive and empowering thoughts.
So instead of seeing it as some kind of magical force, heavy formless substance
Yeah.
is a metaphor for this potential we all have
Okay.
to reshape our reality through our thoughts and actions.
That's a thought-provoking interpretation.
Yeah.
Perhaps Wattles was trying to articulate something that neuroscience is now starting to understand more fully.
It's like he was ahead of his time.
Right.
So we're not just victims of our circumstances.
Yeah.
We actually have a say in shaping our own destiny.
Wattles would argue that we are active participants in the creation of our own reality.
Okay.
And he goes beyond just internal mindset.
Right.
He also talks about the importance of acting in this certain way in the external world,
Mm-hmm.
in our interactions with others, in our work, in our daily choices.
So it's not enough to just think positive thoughts.
No.
You just have to live them out.
Exactly. It's about embodying the principles of abundance in everything you do.
Right.
Treating others with generosity and respect.
Mm.
Creating value in your work.
Mm-hmm.
And making choices that are aligned with your vision of a richer, fuller life.
It's almost like we're creating a ripple effect of abundance that spreads outwards from us.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks.
And it speaks to the interconnectedness of all things.
Yeah.
Our individual actions can have a positive impact on the world around us.
This is a lot to digest.
I know, right?
If our listener is feeling a little overwhelmed right now,
Sure.
what's one key takeaway you think they should focus on, even if they don't agree with everything Wattles says?
I would say it's this.
Okay.
Pay attention to your thoughts.
Okay.
Become aware of the stories you're telling yourself about money, success, and your own potential.
Right.
Are those stories empowering you or limiting you?
Mm.
Are they aligned with the life you want to create?
Yeah.
If not, it might be time to rewrite the script.
I love that advice. It's all about becoming the author of your own story, isn't it?
It is. It's
Okay.
about taking ownership of your narrative and choosing to focus on thoughts and beliefs that serve you rather than those that hold you back.
So for our listener who is just starting out on this journey of exploring the science of getting rich,
Yeah.
what would you encourage them to do?
I'd encourage them to approach the book with an open mind and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right.
Take what resonates with you and leave the rest.
Oh.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to experiment and see what works for you in your own life.
It's a process of discovery, isn't it?
It is.
Figuring out what works for each of us as individuals.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to wealth creation or personal growth.
Yeah.
What matters most is finding what resonates with you and inspires you to take action.
And to keep learning and growing along the way.
Of course.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
We explored the idea that everyone has a right to be rich. The concept of formless substance, the importance of gratitude and belief, and the power of aligning our thoughts, actions, and environment with our goals.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
We also grappled with some of the more challenging aspects of Wattles' philosophy, like his stance on competition and his emphasis on creating a mental bubble to protect our beliefs.
Right.
We've raised a lot of questions, and I'm sure our listener has some of their own.
That's the beauty of a deep dive like this.
Yeah.
It's not about finding all the answers.
Right.
It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging further exploration.
I'd love to leave our listener with a final thought-provoking question to ponder.
No, I like it.
If, as Wattles suggests, the universe is truly abundant and wants to express itself more fully,
Yeah.
why does poverty still exist? What role do individual choices and actions play in addressing systemic issues like poverty and inequality?
That's a great question to leave them with.
Until next time, keep diving deep